Welcome to The Explainer. So today we are unpacking something absolutely massive. We're looking at the intensely complex, completely rule-bound fictional universe of Yaenddarr. And look, this isn't just your standard fantasy setting, okay? It's a meticulously crafted planetary ecosystem. Everything, and I literally mean everything, from basic evolution to the afterlife itself, operates on this incredibly strict mechanical system. Whether you're a seasoned world builder looking for a masterclass on how rigid systems can generate infinite narrative possibilities, or you just love diving into deep, sprawling lore, you are going to find this totally fascinating.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here's our structural roadmap for the explainer. We are going to hit 1. Origins of the cosmos. 2. The rules of death. 3. Biomes of extreme evolution. 4. Societies and city contrasts. 5. Games, culture, and currency. And finally, 6. Avatars and web fiction. Let's get right to it.
Starting with Section 1, Origins of the Cosmos. To really get a grip on this universe's systems approach, we absolutely have to look at the primordial creation of its two defining planets. Right off the bat, we're looking at two massive contrasting forces. On one side, you have planet Yaenddarr. This is the cradle of life, bathed in the glow of a lunar star, guarded by primordial nature beings called sylvans. It's wildly organic, totally chaotic, and constantly evolving. But then, in sharp contrast, you have planet Koa. This is the forge of order. Koa sits under this austere, cold, technological star, and it's populated entirely by mechanoids. We're talking beings of pure logic, data, divided into a super strict caste system of engineers, warriors, and philosophers. This tension, between the living, breathing chaos of Yaenddarr and the cold, specialized precision of Koa, that is the foundational rule of this entire universe. Which brings us to Section 2, the rules of death. And honestly, this might be the most fascinating rule of Yaenddarr, because mortality here operates as a literal mechanical system. So, the crucial point here is exactly this. Death on Yaenddarr is a curriculum, not a verdict. It's basically a highly structured sorting mechanism. When someone bites the dust here, they don't just vanish. Depending on where they're from, how they died, and their exact death count, they get funneled into these very specific, bureaucratic paths of resurrection. Let's break down this universal death realm cycle, especially for off-worlders. It's a step-by-step progression. Step 1, you go to Darkwood. This is your first lesson, all about learning fear and orientation. Die a few more times, say deaths 2 through 5, and you get bumped to Step 2, Deadwood, for further processing. But if you manage to hit your 6th death and beyond, you graduate to Step 3, Phantasm. Phantasm is where your trauma is finally resolved, and it is essentially this massive, neon-lit VIP afterlife metropolis. Seriously, it's like Vegas for ghosts. A lot of souls actually just choose to stay there indefinitely because, well, it's endlessly entertaining. But here is where the system gets incredibly strict. For native Yaenddarr bodies, they get placed in the secret Elixir waters. These waters heal the body, erase trauma, and trigger this nice, peaceful rebirth. But off-worlders, absolutely forbidden from the water. They must be cremated. Why? Well, because Elixir doesn't just destroy trauma, it filters it. And an off-worlder's alien trauma is totally incompatible with the planet. If an off-worlder goes into that water, their unresolved trauma mutates into a hyper-corrupted, catastrophic substance called Ixor. It's a huge deal. So what exactly happens to all that Ixor corruption? That brings us to Section 3, Biomes of Extreme Evolution. Let's look at the physical environments where this brutal evolution actually takes place. The runoff from this whole death system feeds straight into the savage jungle and the wildling field. These places are literally living crucibles. The air itself can suffocate you or just straight up ignite. Just look at the apex predators forced to survive here. You've got savage feroz mutating mid-combat, shape-shifting Elysium dire cats, scorchfang ravagers thriving in extreme solar heat, plus lightning-charged thunder apes and arachnophae. It's a terrifying list, right? But the sheer suffocating danger here acts as a planetary pressure valve. It forces these species to adapt instantly or get completely consumed. And this brilliantly illustrates how interconnected these systems are. Remember that Ixor corruption we just talked about? Well, when an off-worlder dies and their trauma is processed, it creates these things called Ixor wells out in the jungle. From these concentrated pools of living trauma, shadows are born. These are immortal, violently unstable shadow entities. They have this insatiable hunger, and if you try to kill one, it just dissolves into mist and resurrects even stronger. So, yeah, that strict off-worlder cremation rule, that's about planetary survival, for sure, not just some cultural tradition.
Let's zoom in from the lethal wilderness to the actual societal infrastructure. Moving on to Section 4, Societies and City Contrasts. Now, out of the vast, practically countless population of beings on Yaenddarr, there are exactly 14 humans left. Literally, 14. Because of humanity's track record for conflict and prejudice, we earned a pretty terrible reputation on this planet. So to integrate, almost the entire human population underwent mass interspecies transition surgeries to become completely different life forms. Only 14 held on to their original human biology. And the societies they've built are wild. Take the megacity of Cosmosis. Upper Cosmosis is your classic cyberpunk utopia. Neon lights, flying cars, staggering wealth, pure, clean air. But then you look at the lower-level slums, and it is a totally gritty Mad Max survival zone. Graffiti everywhere, choked by thick, toxic smog. Actually, if you're born in the lower levels, taking a single breath of the pure air up top would literally kill you unless you had a special suit.
But what's truly mind-bending here is the sheer physical scale of this disparity. The upper level isn't just, a few skyscrapers high. It is elevated 200 to 300 million feet in the air. That is a staggering gap. Most residents down in the slums don't even know the upper city exists because there are literally millions of feet of fog blocking the view. It's societal separation on a truly stratospheric scale. Cosmosis isn't the only hub, though. The planet is this crazy patchwork of wildly different zones. You have Pinebrooks, which is this industrial builder town that randomly features a medieval kingdom of knights. Then there's Autumn Falls, basically a never-ending soap opera town where drama and gossip are considered high culture. Summer Bay is just a perpetual 1980s beach party. And Phantasm, that VIP afterlife we mentioned, it's a peaceful metropolis for the working undead. And get this, vampires and werewolves coexist there perfectly peacefully, which kind of proves their historical feuds were mostly just egged on by humans back on Earth. With a population this bizarre and frankly practically immortal, how does anything function? Let's transition to Section 5. Games, culture, and currency, to see what keeps these beings entertained. So, daily life on Yaenddarr is totally post-scarcity. Everyone uses a digital universal credit system run by unbiased AI, meaning indefinite wealth and instant job placement. You can train for a new career in like 12 hours from your phone, but because nobody is wanting for basics, and because planetary healing is so intense, entertainment has evolved to be wonderfully extreme. They play blitzball, this chaotic mashup of soccer, basketball, and rugby, and they host these insanely bloody Cosmosis Coliseum battle royales. I mean, it's a literal fight to the death. But since no one actually stays dead, the athletes go completely all out, making it the ultimate spectator sport.
All right, let's pull back the curtain and see how this all builds into the overarching meta-narrative. Section 6, Avatars and Web Fiction.
Now, what's really interesting about these core characters is how they are broken down using these highly detailed RPG-like astrological stats. This is the Avataric astroglyph chart. These aren't just characters, they are structural, celestial mechanics. Dante represents the sun in Cancer, leading the spiral missions. Apex is aligned with Mars and Leo, acting as the trigger for planetary trials. Romeo stabilizes emotional glyphs over by Venus, and Alexa acts as the romantic judge. The personal dramas aren't just for show, they literally shape and stabilize the physical universe's narrative spiral.
So, what does this all mean? We have this intensely serious, rule-bound ecosystem of gods and death realms, but what happens when you take this incredibly complex web fiction and, just smash it into a completely familiar comic book universe? Well, you get absolutely hilarious, chaotic internet crossover storytelling. According to some popular Wattpad lore that expands on all this, a totally ordinary Yaenddarr house cat somehow winds up on the DC Justice League Watchtower. And because this cat evolved in Yaenddarr's extreme biomes, it speaks a cosmic language older than magic. In minutes, this cat's profane vocabulary completely traumatizes Batman, emotionally shatters the Teen Titans, and basically leaves Earth's greatest heroes sobbing in a corner. It's so funny, but it really hits the nail on the head regarding the sheer scale of Yaenddarr. Think about it. If a simple house cat from this world can break the Dark Knight, what would the rest of this universe do to our reality? Definitely something to chew on until our next explainer.